Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Londonderry Town Council meeting for April 11th, 2022. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as these atrocities, as we see on the news, continue in Ukraine. I have nothing to say but to pray for these people, and let's just be grateful for what we have here in this country. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to adjourn to a non-public session. Can I have a motion to move to a town council non-public session under RSA 91A:3, Part 2, Section A?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Roll call vote.
I, Chad Franz.
Hi, Jim Butler.
Hi, Joe Green.
I did, Paul.
Aye, John Farrell. Folks, we'll be returning shortly, and we just have a matter we need to go and discuss. All right, Drew, we're back on the air? Yes? Thank you. I'll accept a motion to come out of non-public.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Roll call.
I, Chad Franz.
Hi, Jim Butler.
Aye, Joe Green.
I did, Paul.
Aye, John Farrell. Folks, we're out of non-public. Going to move, before I move into public comment, I want to handle Resolution 2022-04. This is a resolution relative to the position of town manager. Today is the first reading and the only reading. Effective February 8th, 2022, the council appointed Michael Malaguti to the role of acting town manager pursuant with Article 4, Section 4.5 of the town charter. Whereas acting town manager Malaguti has the requisite education, training, and qualifications for the role of town manager and has proven his ability to perform the role of town manager. Whereas pursuant with Article 4 of the charter, the council wishes to appoint the town manager who will act as the chief administrative officer for the town and serve at the pleasure of the town council. The council recognizes that Article 4, Section 4.2 of the charter allows, with the approval of 4 members of the town council and town manager, need not be a resident of the town. Therefore, be it resolved by the Londonderry Town Council pursuant to Article 4 of the town charter, Michael Malaguti is hereby appointed as the town manager for the town of Londonderry. Such appointment to become effective today, April 11, 2022, and the council has voted to suspend the residency requirement for the appointee. With regards to the appointee, he comes to us after several years in private practice. Also, he's been with us for 4 years, 3 as our prosecutor, 1 as our assistant solicitor. He and his wife, Catherine, live in Pelham, so they do live nearby. And considering today's real estate market, that's why we're waiving the residency requirement. We look forward to moving forward with you, and I would accept a motion for approval.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Roll call.
I, Chad Franz.
Hi, Jim Butler.
Aye, Joe Green.
I did, Paul.
Aye, John Farrell. Congratulations.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to the council, to yourself and members of the council for their confidence, and I'm looking forward to working tirelessly for the people of Londonderry. Thanks again.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now moving into public comment. I have a couple of things here on my agenda. I have the leash law discussion with Town Clerk Sherry Farrell.
Try this out. Good evening, everyone. Sherry Farrell, your town clerk. And I just wanted to, first of all, thank everyone. We had our Rabies Clinic on Saturday from 10 until 1, and it was a huge success. We had about 60 residents come out, dogs, cats. And not only were they able to get their vaccination, thanks to Dr. Gregorio, Animal Veterinary Clinic, but also we set it up so that everything was held here so that they could also register their dog. So we were able to actually register about 30 dogs, and some of them I don't think would have been registered, except we were able to catch them and tell them how easy the process was. So thank you to everyone. Deb, you got it in the paper for us, which we appreciate. It was in all the local newspapers, police department, fire department. Everyone was helping us to spread the word, and it made a difference. We also were able to donate $1,100 to our Survivor's Paws, it's called. It's a nonprofit where they rescue and help pets in need. And they came down from Vermont and Lebanon to assist us and really made a difference too. So we're looking forward to our 3rd annual one next year. And kind of going along with that topic, what I'm asking the council tonight is if you could consider looking at Ordinance 2016-02. It doesn't have to be tonight, but if it's something you could put on your radar. Dave Carver, myself, and Christine Genti in my office. Dave Carver is our animal control officer, and he's been phenomenal, and it's made such a difference having him working side by side with us. But what we're seeing way too much of is we have an animal control ordinance, but we don't have a leash law. And I'm not sure that's where we want to head with a leash law. But the problem is the way the ordinance is written and was amended in 16 is it states that the dog has to be under control of the owner, and in only certain places like our rail trail and also our Kent Island Forest. does a dog actually have to be on a leash? But in all other areas, the owner has to keep their dog under control. But that's very vague. And what we've been seeing is, and it's scary, we had one situation where one dog killed another dog, and the pictures that were sent to my phone were horrific. And, of course, they do get, violation notices and all, but we've had residents scratched, we've had seniors knocked down, and we need to look at this and evaluate it. And I'm not sure what the answer is, but I think together we can come up with something. Our residents have to be able to walk in their neighborhoods and not be fearful of a dog running even out of the dog's own yard. And that's been a constant the last few months. And I know the police department's had a lot of different cases and have been called out. So I think it's something we do need to look at. So when you have an opportunity, or maybe together, because it's gotten really scary. It's one case after another. And again, Dave, myself, we have pictures, horrific pictures of what's happening in our own town. And I think we really need to take control of it and decide how we can help our residents with that. Any questions on that?
Mr. Chair.
No, you can go first.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Thank you for coming up and sharing. So just so I can understand, and Mr. Chair, if you could help as well. So the process of, say, changing something is, like, what would be the process of that, and what are you proposing that we change specifically?
Mike, I'll let you.
I can speak. I can speak
Thank
to the
you.
process of adopting or revising an ordinance. It entails per the charter, and we actually have an ordinance that talks about how we create ordinances. And the requirement is that there be a first reading, newspaper publication, a second reading / public hearing, and then the matter can be adopted at that point.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sherry, is it possible to get this documentation, like to see how many? I mean, I do the police logs and read them all the time, and I don't see that many. I see a few. It just was kind of curious as to how many, where they were they in public places, or where it's like an odd thing where, somebody forgot to put the battery in the zap collar wasn't in, and they saw a squirrel run across the road. They ran across the
Right,
road. They
yeah.
saw the person on a bike, went after the person on a bike because the dog's all hepped up. Like, I mean, I'd like to kind of see what we're actually looking at.
And Deb, that's a good point, because I don't think that we want to go to a leash law where every dog is required to be on leash, because we all know that dog that is in such control, and that wouldn't be fair. And you're absolutely right. It's sometimes the cute puppies, the Goldens, that are just kind of, they see a mom in a baby carriage and they dash down onto the sidewalk. And, they're trying to be friendly, but that mom with a baby doesn't want the dog jumping up on them. So
Right.
the truth is somewhere in the middle with it, and that's why I'm not sure what I'm asking for. What I think we could start with is just bringing awareness to the public.
Right.
And, if everyone works together and really recognize that, because you love your dog, like we love Gigi, but not everybody loves Gigi, and not everyone loves Gigi sniffing at them or jumping up on them.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to there is no secure place in our town for dogs to
point,
run.
right.
Back to the dog park. That would have been a great spot on Gilchrist Road for a dog park, a water park, ice skating park, and a pickleball court. All put in a nice thing with trails through it, but c'est la vie. My point is, if we go down this park, should we revisit an actual dog park? I mean, at what point is Hudson and Derry going to say, you know what, have to be a resident to get in?
Right.
And we have no place. I mean, some people do have a law of the yard, and some people don't. But you want to have that interaction with other dogs. And, my dog goes off lead all the time in my backyard. And they're pretty under control until that crazy bunny
squirrel or
rabbit
the-
decides to
right,
run across the yard, and they go, oh, there goes Swifty, and they want to chase it. And so, I don't know. I just think that
Yeah.
maybe that could be part of it. I mean, the reason they're off lead is to make them burn off energy.
Right.
I don't live in a neighborhood. I can't walk on the sidewalk or take my life in my hand because I don't have a sidewalk. It's a busy road. So not having that, I mean, I do go to Derry and Hudson. So I think that this all kind of goes together.
It
So if it's an
does,
incumbent thing of
Yeah, and maybe that's how we need to look at it too.
You know?
Because we don't want to become too firm with it. But Mike, we've talked about this. We've had many meetings trying to like solve this. Where do we go with it? So again, if we can bring awareness to the public and everyone can work together and just kind of keep that in mind again, that, you know, because we love dogs doesn't mean that everyone does. And, you know, and we can, you know, move forward with it too down the road. Something else I'd like you to consider, and this is a big one too. But one problem that we continually have when we're trying to get messages out to the public, and some people, you know, we have our newspapers, we have our social media, and then we kind of have everything in between. But what I'd love to see somewhere down the road, and it might be through raising money or donations, but I think it's phenomenal what our high school students donated to the school, and we have that beautiful electronic message board out front at the high school. And someday I would love to see one like in front of our police station or kind of as you're coming in, an electronic message board where we can remotely from home with our phones put messages about what's going on at the library, police events, rabies clinics, but something that the people can see and really read. And we are so grateful that when you wheel that, you know, that sign out and you change it for us constantly whenever I ask. Patrick, for a while there, was putting up little verbs, you know, little kind of fun rhymes a few years back, and that's wonderful. But so many of our residents coming through, even just on Saturday, we're seeing it's kind of hard to read, and then you can only put one message, and I think it's like 3 words, you know, 3 lines. But down the road, if we could ever afford a message board, you know, to represent this part of the town and the town side of things, then you've got the school, you've got the town, they could match. I've actually looked into it, the 3 companies locally that we could talk to about it, and maybe there's that company out there that would even donate it. I know it's a lot of money we're talking about, but I think it would really serve the residents well. So that was kind of my my other little thing, even if it's on a 2-year plan, a 3-year, whatever it would take. But yes, so I think that's pretty much all I had. A big thank you, and thank you for all your support to the town clerk and tax collector's office. We couldn't do it without all of you. Any other questions?
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That'd be good.
I just move to a point of order before I move any further with public comment. I'd also like to request a motion to seal the minutes from the non-public session indefinitely.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Sure, it was affirmative, we'll seal the minutes. Okay, we're still in public comment, ladies and gentlemen. I have the National Telecommunications Week proclamation. Who has the proclamations? They're going around for signature. They're over there? We have Deputy Chief Heinrich and Captain Cheatham. Did you want the proclamations, gentlemen?
He has a copy.
Or do you
I
want,
wasn't sure if you were going to read it, sir, or
I'm happy to read them, or I'm happy to let you read them. How would you like to proceed?
if I may just say maybe 30 seconds worth of words and allow you or someone from the council to read the proclamation.
Sounds great.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen at home, my name is Patrick Cheatham. I'm a police officer and captain here at the Londonderry Police Department. I'm joined by Deputy Fire Chief Fred Heinrich. And this week is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And while a police officer or firefighter might be the first man or woman you see after you call 911, it's police and fire dispatchers who are the first voices you hear when you need help in whatever situation at your home. So this week, we honor and recognize all of our civilian members of our staff, especially our telecommunications operators. And I was just going to read, we actually only have 6 police dispatchers in Londonderry, and we're set to swear a new dispatcher in a week from today. Jillian LeClaire hails from the town of Londonderry, 26 years old, and is looking to start her public safety career as a dispatcher and remain in the town in which she was raised and which she loves so much. So special thanks to our dispatchers, Sophie Bartlett, Christine Jack, Megan Moran, Amelia McKeever, Maria Schacht, and also our dispatch supervisor, Corey Nader. Chief.
Perfect, thank you. And to add to that, with us, we have dispatcher Brittany Hessen, Matt Nelson, Victoria Thickens, Cindy Tuck, and our part-time dispatcher Bruce Hollowell Jr.
Well, gentlemen, I can tell you any time that I've interacted with dispatch in both departments and everything, it's always been professional and excellent experience, so it's much appreciated.
Well, thank
I'll
you.
turn to Councilor Green to read the proclamation.
Okay, in honor of National Public Safety Telecommunication Week, April 10th through 16th of 2022, whereas the public safety dispatchers of the town of Londonderry, who process an average of 100,000 telephone calls per year, are the first critical contact that our citizens have with Londonderry's emergency services. And whereas these dispatchers are the vital link to those calling for help and to firefighters, paramedics, and police officers. And whereas dispatchers monitor emergency personnel activities by radio and telephone and provide them with life-saving information to ensure their safety. And whereas the safety of our firefighters, paramedics, and police officers are dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained by all public safety dispatchers from the citizens who call the Londonderry Fire and Police Department. And whereas the public safety dispatchers of the Londonderry Fire and Police Department have contributed significantly to the suppression of fire, treatment of patients, and the apprehension of criminals in life-threatening situations. And whereas each dispatcher, the unseen individual providing a calm voice when emergencies arise, has exhibited compassion, empathy, and professionalism, keeping our town and citizens safe. Therefore, on the occasion of National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April 10th to 16th, 2022, the Londonderry Town Council urges all citizens to honor the employees of the Londonderry Fire and Police Communication Center and recognize them for their diligence and professionalism in helping to keep our town, its citizens, employees, and visitors safe. Signed this 11th day of April 2022 at the town of Londonderry, New Hampshire, in the witness thereof, the seal, the signature of the Town Council. And it's Town of Londonderry and its Town Council.
Thank you, sir. And gentlemen, we have one for each of you.
Great. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, thank you very much for taking just a few minutes to recognize people that are critical to our public safety mission and who are often unrecognized because they are a faceless voice on the other side of a telephone or a police radio or a fire radio. But without them, we would not be able to serve our community in the way that we do. So, gentlemen and Madam Councilor, thank you very much. And Mr. Town Manager, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciated. And please thank the people for us personally.
Yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are in public comment, so if there's anyone who would like to address the council, yes,
Yes, I'd like to address
okay,
public, if that's okay.
please go ahead.
So, yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've been working on with Steve Hamilton and Mike Malaguti, and it's of quite a big concern of mine. It looks like we have a current income limit for elderly exemption. I know we're going to be talking a few things tonight about tax credits, et cetera, but I wanted to bring to the council's attention that the limits that we have currently in our brackets for a single person, single elderly person making for $40,800, and then as a married person making $50,300, I think are too low. I mean, are too high. And I think we have to try to look at where we can bring this into consideration and have people that are, not making or making too much money. If they're making 46 or 47 or 48,000, these limits. I'm not really sure how we come up with these limits, and I thought it would be a good idea to kind of have that discussion and really dig into it because as prices continue to increase. Past COVID, I think these numbers are a little bit low, and we should raise those limits. And I just wanted to kind of put that out there. The other thing I wanted to point out is that on occasions you would have people that have pensions and that are getting two incomes even after somebody should pass away, and we have the designation simply of single and married. And in reality, if they're having two incomes coming in, I think they should be considered for that married level, whereas right now we just consider them as single. They haven't been divorced. They have, their spouse passed away, and because they have a second check coming in, it takes them out of that exemption qualification. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, well, we can certainly, revisit those.
So, Mike, I just didn't know if you, if you could continue to maybe talk about this with Steve, and I know follow up with him if you could, because I've been speaking to him individually as a council, but I wanted to bring this as we normally do. Some of us go back and forth with our constituents, and we bring things to the town that are of concern, and I wanted to make sure I brought it up in public, what I've been working on.
It's an important issue, Mr. Vice Chairman, and I will have those discussions with Mr. Hamilton and continue to work through those issues with him.
And whatever information you need in cooperation, if the council would allow, I would love to be able to head that up with you.
Fantastic.
Everybody okay with that? Okay, please, all right. Good? Everybody up here good?
Yep.
Public comment. Who are you again, fella?
Dan Bouchard, O'Connell Drive, Londonderry. I just want to touch base on what Sherry just talked about with the dogs. My wife, she walks our dog. She has a husky. It's blind. And, you know, every so often you run into other dogs. And she's had comments of, and it's education, of people that move into town and say, I moved to New Hampshire, I'm going to let my dog run loose. You know, I don't know. I registered my dogs. Maybe one way is to give them, at time of registering the dog, a copy of the law, all right, on how to hang on to the, you know, restrain your dog. My other comment would be, last week when you guys talked about landscaping out here, one thought I think the council might want to look at is, instead of putting grass and investing in a sprinkler system and, you know, maybe throw bark mulch out. Grade it, put bark mulch. I mean, I've been in the business for years, and, you know, if you put some bark mulch out there or maybe some stone out there, put some picnic tables out there for our employees, the library people maybe could use it. Just a thought, okay?
I think we're certainly open to options. None have been presented to us yet, so it's a good time to bring up options.
Right, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. I know last week you guys were discussing it. My other thought, and now that Mike is, you know, our official town manager, when I was watching the planning board meeting the other day, and Deb was on there, and we had the update on Woodmont,
Yep,
okay?
I was watching it too.
Yeah, and I guess what alarms me is I'm watching this and I hear a lot of residential development going to be coming in at Woodmont, more than I think that the town was expecting. Also, we have 170 townhouses coming up on 28. I guess my biggest concern is I lived through the time here in Londonderry where we had an influx of kids into the school system, a lot of kids in the school system. I'm afraid that we're going to end up in that situation again. So I hope somebody is keeping an eye on what's going on.
So the development agreement that was filed with their deed also allows for the ability, not that I'm looking to build schools, but the ability for a school to be built in that area, and for them to be able, for us to be able to acquire land at some discounted price from market price, whatever it is at the time. So that was included. It also does come into the overall formula as well. So while, you know, I watched the same thing, I had a discussion with Attorney Pollack. Sadly, you know, things have changed. And retailers are not coming back the way that everyone thought they were going to come back.
Well, you know,
But we are getting a lot more inquiries about that land from a lot more industrial, commercial type of uses. So I wouldn't jump to the residential so fast yet, because we're getting, by accident, we wound up with all the distribution centers. Well, that wound up being a good thing. And because of where we sit, we have others talking to us. Nobody the size of the one that just pulled out of Amazon, out of Hudson with Amazon.
well, I mean, I look at.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I look on Gilchrist Road. I mean, that's a big cluster development. And now, north of Pillsbury, where at one time the town was going to try to buy it, but then Max sold it to Woodmont,
Right.
that's going to be more residential.
And as part of their master plan, that was always residential.
Right. You know, and when I listened to the planning, you know, to the presentation, it was like, well, you know, residential seems to be more appealing right now because, businesses.
The market, right?
Well, I look at the market, but my comment on, John, is I go to Tuscan Village and they're filling up businesses left and right down there.
So interestingly, I was there the other day, and they're from a retail standpoint, and and in the discussions we've had behind the scenes, is they're struggling as well from a retail standpoint. They're getting for that building that is closest to the original entrance of Rockingham Park, so the one that is further south, they're getting $3,500 a month for rent. I mean, that's what it's starting at. So with those kind of crazy prices, that's, you know how this works. You're a developer. That's what drives the market. Now, like I said, the good news is we're under NDA for other things that we can't talk about, but that, we're seeing some of the same types of things, but not as much of the retail. I mean, retailers are digitizing and doing more business virtually than they are doing as you watch the malls empty out.
Well, I mean,
Now, what we're hoping for is that the restaurants bounce back. And if they bounce back, then the retailers will come, like they did in Linfield. So there's a lot of pieces that have to move and have to happen. But again, I listen to the same thing and then talk to Attorney Pollack.
yeah, because when I listened to comments about Gilchrist Road was an eyesore, I hate to tell you, Woodmont is an eyesore when you drive through there. The way that looks.
It's not exactly what we all expected.
know.
That'd be fair to say.
And I remember when the mall at Rockingham Park wasn't even proposed, and we were looking at 4A, and Boston North was going to build a mall.
Right.
All right, and that took time, and all of a sudden, boom, Salem gets the mall. Well, you're not going to build another mall in Londonderry if there's already one in Salem.
Right.
And I guess that's one of my concerns is that you look into Tuscan Village, really growing, really getting developed. We're at a standstill here, and my concern is that it's going to be more residential and impact on our schools.
Understood.
So, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else for public comment?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I can stand and I can speak from here because I can clean a field. I taught school for 25 years in this town, and I taught 33 years. My initials are JC, but I'm not Jesus. And I want you to know that I really, I'm fine, sir. I can sit right here. Thank you.
So ma'am, I just
My name
need,
is Joan Schmuler.
thank you.
I live at 38 South Road in Londonderry.
Thank you.
For 43 years, I've been paying the town of Londonderry taxes. When my husband was 60, which is almost 17 years ago, he passed away with a massive heart attack without any of us knowing he was sick. And he was German, and he thought he was going to live forever, okay? Didn't go to the doctor and didn't really set up much for me from when he passed. He had a great, I was able to bury him, and he's up in Boscawen because he was a vet. And I would like to go from here there, but I don't know where I'm going to go because I can't afford your taxes. I'm one of those people who's, if you want to see my taxes, you're all welcome to see them, and I wouldn't mind looking at yours because in comparison, I think it'd be a phenomenal difference. Now, I have taught math in elementary school, and I've taught it at Sylvan Learning, and when my daughter was in college at Revere, I worked 2 jobs so she could get through school. She doesn't have any college bills, but her mother has no legs. But other than that, I'm fine. But I'm not here to joke around, though. This is a tragedy to any old person. And I love this town. I mean, I wouldn't have stayed here for 43 years. To end up with an income of $45,346.84 a year. I get money back on taxes because I do standard deductions. But every cent I get back is put in the taxes that I pay you in July. And then I pray, and I save, and I don't get this and I don't get that, so I can probably pay you in December. And the last 3 years, not this year, but the last 3 years before that, I've always had to finish paying in January. And that goes against my grain, because I was always a person who paid when it was handed to me to be due. Last year, I have a grandson who's living with me, and he gave me the $375 I needed to finish what I need to pay in that bill. I am begging you, because I think I'm gonna have to sell my house and leave. I'm begging you to stop and think about the poor people. Don't pass out fees before I leave, because I feel like I'm being passed out a pill every time I read my tax forms and my taxes from the town of Londonderry. But I believe in God and I refuse to let anybody kill me. So, but this is killing me and a lot of people like me. And I urge you to listen to what Joe Green said tonight. I have gone to Joe over and over and over and begged, please do something. He and I go to church together. After church, Joe, is it going to change? It's not changing.
So this is our struggle, ma'am. I mean, so what happens is that, the town is the agent that collects the money.
Yeah,
And 23% of it runs
to the school. No, to the town.
actually, 23% of it runs the town.
Okay, I know that.
So, and I know, and 75% of it runs the schools. So when we make adjustments on the town end of the business, so let's say we change the salary piece, and let's say we give the veterans exceptions, that money comes out of the town side of the business.
Never out of the school.
No, because the way our government is set up in New Hampshire is that they give us a bill and we have to pay it.
Okay.
So you probably have heard a number of us over the years go over to the schools and go, it's $21,000 a student, you're spending $84 million, and you would know this, we're down 1,500 kids, what are you doing? And you may have seen the school board meeting last Tuesday when I went in there and said, well, if you're gonna I have 84 million reasons to be here, and you need to be number one, you're not number one, because people will pay for number one. But, my argument is if you're gonna spend the money, be number one. So what we struggle with here on the town side of the business is that we want to be able to do things, but we can't take money away from them because they won't let us, and the law won't let us. So what we've been saying to some of the folks like yourself is help us out. I mean, we're going to try, and I can promise you we're going to have a conversation about it. But somebody go say something to the other 75% and say, hey, help us out.
I understand, sir, and I've taught school here for 25 years, and I saw more people, because when I started out, sir, we were top notch. I'm not saying we're that now, but everybody from everywhere came in here for our special ed programs.
Yep.
And I believe that's what's killing the school systems. I really, really do. And I have to say, I love Londonderry schools, but it costs money to teach special ed children, and a lot of money.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
it's
It's about
harder. We've got
26 million.
The autism thing and everything like that.
I think it's 26 or $28 million a year for special needs in the town.
I know.
And I'm not saying we shouldn't do it,
No.
but you're right, it's expensive.
It's expensive, but it's because we were number one. In order to do that again, what are we gonna do? Throw the special ed kids out? You can't do it. So I feel for them as well. You see, I have a heart for kids, but I have a heart for old people too.
Yeah,
And I have a heart for you. It's not an easy job. I don't think you have an easy job. But I have so many people. I almost have to sell my house to leave this town that I love, and that's sad.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And as I said, I promise you, as Joe brought up, we will look at it. I don't know what we can or we can't do, but I can promise you it will get looked at.
Okay. All right, that's all I can talk about. And I hope you forgive my commentary, because I'm big mouth, I talk loud.
It's quite all right.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Are you school? No. Are you school? Where you in school?
Just look educated.
I can't talk, you are that old.
My kids teach you.
I don't think we have taught you yet, no.
So is there anyone else for public comment? All right, public comment is now closed. So before I move to the public hearing, I want to share with the council that as the school liaison, I went to the school board meeting. And I made the statement to them, and it's not unlike the same statement I'm going to make here, is that it's really all about excellence. And what happens is you only get opportunities for windows to open for short periods of time. like the schools who are transitioning their leadership, we're transitioning our leadership. So we have an opportunity here to jump to the next level. So what I said to the schools is that, you're not Hanover or Hopkinton. They're number one. We're not number one. And that what's the plan to get there? What's the plan to be the best? Because as I just said to that woman, it's hard to argue with being the best. So, and I didn't get a response, and nor was it shared. It was shared with me later that there's not a plan, but they think they know they need to have a plan. Strive to be number one. It's the same thing here on the town side. Well, I think we do an excellent job in many areas. We can always be better. We can always strive for excellence. So when we're looking at these goals and changing the process of how we're doing things, we're looking for the department heads to come forward and say, hey, I'm thinking outside the box. This is what we need to do. Or this is the new way I'm thinking about doing something. Or, I had this idea. And what we want to do is get, it's the old saying of more heads are better than one. And just try to come up with what's the best plan so that we come into this year knowing a couple of things. One is March inflation numbers were 8.4%. It's the highest since 1976. It's also jet fuel is up 75%. So everybody was planning on going on vacation in the summer and you didn't buy your plane ticket yet, get another $100 if you want to go away per person. I mean, that's what they're basically saying. So what I'm looking for from the department heads is that try something different. Status quo just isn't going to cut it. So as we go into these goals, that's sort of what we're looking for. Anything else?
Well said.
All right, let's do the public hearing, then we'll move to the goals. Acceptance of public, I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative. Acceptance of unanticipated revenue pursuant to RSA 31:95-B ARPA grant. Lisa.
Okay, just a little refresher on the history here, Mr. Chair. I want to give you a little bit of context so you can see where we've been and where we're going. Is step one in our exploration of establishing a public water system. The DES, the New Hampshire DES, is currently funding a feasibility study on the town's behalf. So we're not paying for step one. Over the last several months, we, meaning me, Town Manager Malaguti, John Trottier, and Bob Carey, have met with various representatives of the engineering firm engaged by DES to do that feasibility study. It's called Weston and Sampson, to discuss their findings and provide them with any and all Londonderry-specific information that they need to inform their assumptions. That study is looking at things like the expected water demand and basic infrastructure that would be necessary to bring the water into Londonderry. For example, extension and addition of water main routes, placement of pump stations, et cetera, among many other things that I am unable to explain as a non-engineer. They are in the final phase of that feasibility study. We should have that final report soon. The second step in the process is what we're here tonight to talk about. It would be a cost of service study, which will look at the ultimate questions like, if we were to establish a public water system, what would be the best model for Londonderry? For example, would it be to purchase the existing infrastructure along with adding the necessary infrastructure and run it all ourselves? Or perhaps we pay a third entity to run it instead of hiring our own personnel? Or perhaps we work with the existing infrastructure owners like Pennachuck, Manchester Waterworks, Dairy Water, and just add the other infrastructure needed to finish it out. And how do we tie in the small community water systems already in existence, or do we? It's very complicated. And then based on each of those models considered, what would be the projected water rate for the actual customers, meaning our residents? So we've tapped the same engineering firm that's doing the feasibility study, step one, Weston and Sampson, to do step two, the cost of service study, which is projected to cost $87,000. And we've just finalized the scope of work document with them today, as a matter of fact. As the council will recall, we had put a warrant article, which passed on the March ballot, authorizing $100,000 for this, what I'm calling step two of the process. As we do whenever possible, town staff has researched and applied for grant funding with DES And I'm proud to say we've been awarded $50,000 in ARPA funds, which is the American Rescue Plan Act, to partially defray the cost of that cost of service study. So that is the source of the unanticipated revenue presently before us in the public hearing and the subject of the resolution you have before you tonight in the next section, new business.
Are there any questions?
No, I just would like to make a comment, if that's okay.
Of course.
I just want to say that I've spoke with Lisa a lot because I've been pretty involved with a lot of these meetings, and I think she's doing a great job. I just want to know if you could guesstimate for the public
Sure.
that when you say soon, months, lots of months, few months.
You mean in
Just so
terms of when we'll have, so I think when I said soon, it is the final phase of the feasibility study for step one. We should have that in the next month or two.
That's great,
And then the cost of service will begin as soon as we get the funds from DES to start, because of course we can't use our $100,000 till July 1.
Okay, and I know that we've spoke about this, but the hotspots will be addressed first, so those people in
Correct.
the most desperate situations will get looked at as a priority.
Correct.
And then down the chain from there. And the other thing is we are moving forward still, and people want to know this. I'm saying this basically for the public.
Absolutely.
The rebate is coming still, too. And
It is
not
still
to
coming.
Hold tight, we're getting very
Yes.
close.
Yes, and so Counselor Paul makes a good point. The PFAS rebate program for those who have installed or plan to install some sort of treatment for their private residential wells is now being run by the state. They expect it, they keep telling us it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. They're staffing up in order to be able to run that program. But that information, as soon as it becomes available, we will blast it out as well for our residents.
Right. And, you know, I also want to echo what Mr. Bouchard was saying. We really have to be mindful in planning and our town. We're bringing in all of these housing, having enough water and sewer, not just quantity, but quality. And we really need to take time and a breath to get our infrastructure piped up to that level of housing, if that's what you want. Otherwise, it will end up costing way more than it would have done if you do it backwards. Put the houses in first, and then the infrastructure. It will cost you more in tax dollars than if you do the infrastructure first and build the houses later. That's all. But you did a great job, and I just
Thank
want
you.
to say that you've been staying on top of the water really well. And
Thank
it's
you.
a lot of moving pieces.
It is. I appreciate it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Anything else? So far tonight, we've had one woman say she was JC. Now Lisa's walking on water.
Tis the season.
Yes, it is.
It can be witty.
Okay. Anything else? Accept the motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Anyone from the public? I'm sorry. Anyone from the public? Good. Accept the motion to close the public hearing?
Do we have to vote on this?
We're going to vote in the next section.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Chair votes affirmative. Public hearing is closed. Finance Department goals.
Mr. Chairman, I chatted briefly with both departments earlier today, and I think the PD may want to go first. Is that still accurate?
I'm only following the agenda.
I realize they're in that order, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, no worries. However you want to do it. I'm sure whatever they're going to have to say will be said.
Thank you for this opportunity to share our goals briefly with you. Deputy Chief Bernard is going to handle the lion's share. The only reason I wanted to address the council is to say, great job in making a permanent appointment with Mr. Malaguti. I won't take entire credit for his municipal skills because I was accompanied by Lisa Drabeck, but this town will be well-served by Mike Malaguti, and I'm so thrilled that he has this opportunity, as does the town of Londonderry. With that, Deputy Chief Bernard.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Members of the council, we were asked to bring forward some goals for the upcoming 22 year. Mr. Chair, today I have 3 of them, and I'd like to touch base on those with you. First off, goal number 1, we're going to continue to being financially responsible with our budget. One of the ancillary goals is to fully fund some lines, shore them up. I'd like to share with you, if I can, an example of one of those. Building maintenance is listed as $18,700 in that line. Excuse me. We've been routinely overexpended in this line for 18 years. One example, the maintenance line, your police department building, preventative maintenance system, yearly checks on our boilers, our heating, and our cooling systems. That's a cost. And to bring light, this coming last month, the Services Bureau had an inspection done, and we looked at what it would cost to clean and maintain our heating and duct system in the police department. The duct work has not been cleaned yet since we've been in this building. We know it's time, it has to get done. By doing this, it's going to also reduce costs as far as the rising energy costs. So one quote that we've received so far was $30,000. $30,000 to maintain that. It's a large dollar amount. And we look at the 18,700 that we routinely have, we're not going to get it from that. So we look at some other areas of cost, vehicle maintenance. Vehicle maintenance line, we're budgeted for $4,000. We've been at $4,000 since 2012. We're well over that every year by 2,000%. This amount is not enough to cover just oil changes, wipers, tire rotations, washer fluid, vehicle inspections for our fleet. This also covers minor costs of damage that's not submitted to our insurance company. So for example, just oil changes alone, it's roughly $5,000 a year. Goal number 2 we have for the police department is recruiting and retention. This is not just new to Londonderry, but it's a nationwide problem. As we discussed many times with the council before, we have a very stringent and intrusive background process. On average, 1 out of 4 pass that. From the time the officers apply to finishing up a background, we're looking at 4 to 6 months time lapse. And then they have 2 weeks of in-house academy before they attend the police academy in Concord. Our recruits will then spend close to 4 months there. They come back to us for 3 more months of field training. So it's roughly 1 year before the officer counts as a body on the road. As we discussed before, the process is always ongoing here in Londonderry. We realized that we needed to have open enrollment. The open enrollment program, we try to solicit certified officers from around the state. We've been very fortunate many years in a row for getting some of the best officers from outside agencies. Our open enrollment, for those of you who don't know, is throughout the year, the Services Bureau will advertise that we're taking open enrollment. Officers come in, they go through the series of panels and questioning, and we try to find the ones that fit Londonderry, the officers that we know that you expect us to give you. That alone takes quite some time. 2 months ago, we lost an officer to retirement. We have another one retiring at the end of this month. We have another one retiring in July. You look at the time it takes for us to maintain or to get one officer on the road, we're going to lose 2 more in the next 4 months. This last 3 decades, we have never had this happen here. We've lost 3 officers to retirement, early retirement. They did not have the 20 years with Londonderry. They have been left for civilian work. We've never had that happen. This trend is not happening just in Londonderry, it's happening everywhere else too. So what are we going to do? We need to maintain what we've already have. We need to focus on the employees we have. We need to continue to bring in qualified Londonderry officers that you guys have known to be accustomed to. We're going to continue to do that. People want to come to Londonderry Police Department because of a reputation. They want to come here because of the quality
of police work. They want to come here because of the relationship that we have with you folks. They want to come here because of the training they get, the equipment they get. We have a lot to offer. We're going to continue to do that. And the last goal we have this year is CALIA. We're going to work closely with the Office of Professional Standards to ensure that we adhere to the best practices model, which we have known to be CALIA. This prestigious title is a part of our town now. It's up to us to maintain and hold that. Mr. Chair, as you say, Londonderry leads the way. I believe with the community support, direction from the town council, the finance department, we will strive to be number one and make you guys proud.
Questions from the council?
Could you just, do you have ideas for how you're gonna get to where you're gonna, what you're talking about as your goals? Do you have a plan? Do you have any thought on how you're gonna retain people, or have you been talking to some of the people when they left, kind of doing little survey work, taking a regular officer who was friends with that officer, give him a call up, hey, Joe, just curious, why did you leave, and then
Yeah.
recon work, bring it back and find out why and what are the reasons, and, I don't know, I'm just
Sure.
looking at these as pretty substantial problems and trying to figure out how we're gonna deal with them.
Okay, it's a great question, and those three particularly, obviously their personnel matters, and some of the reasons are quite obvious. They left for better pay. They left for jobs that are Monday through Friday. They left for jobs that are not going to be ordered over to work a midnight shift, be held over to work a day shift. Different opportunities out there. We lost one of our very qualified investigators to go into the private sector to lead a firm in financial fraud. We lost another officer to a company in town to work on Monday through Friday job, doing something he had a passion for. And lastly was another up-and-coming young lady that worked for us. She received a job offer that she couldn't pass up. Again, higher pay, home at night with her kids, be with her husband on the weekends, don't have to worry about babysitters, not being ordered over. I think that when we look at what we've done historically here, I think our reputation is what still draws qualified candidates here. And to maintain that, we got to continue with what we do. We have to give them, as Mr. Chairman has pointed out many times, we have to give them training. We have to give them the best resources available to make them successful. And, I think as an administration, we have to support our employees. And we understand, we recognize that these shifts can be long. Being ordered over is not always great. But if they come to work, they feel appreciated, we respect them, and we're just decent people to them, they'll stay.
Do you think that the odd hour shifts and the long days and nights and weekends is the bigger problem as opposed to the actual salary? I mean, where do we compare with everybody else in the state? I mean, when I say everybody, I mean not like Manchester, I mean towns like ours.
So I don't know where we stand currently, but years prior, we were in the top 5, maybe.
So we're in the top 5 for paying.
I don't know if we
So
are.
I think the other obstacle is the thing that really is the.
Well, I don't know
having
if we're in the.
9 to 5 job is.
Sure, I don't know if we're in the
bigger
top
one.
5 pay anymore.
I'm sorry?
I don't know if we're in the top 5 pay brackets anymore. But that is something that we're
Where we
gonna,
stand, like,
I maybe the top 10, 5 to 10 maybe.
okay.
That's something that with collective bargaining agreements and those things that the town will work with, I'm sure, with the unions to figure those things out. As far as the hours, there's not many jobs out there where you have to say goodbye to your wife and kids or your husband or whatnot and not know if you're going to be ordered over tonight because staffing is low, or when we had the COVID situations happening in our community,
Yeah.
we were down a lot of officers. People were getting tired of being ordered over 2 or 3 times a week.
So you think do you think that's the bigger reason, or do you think the salary is the bigger reason?
I think it was a combination of both, to be honest. And again, we're looking at when I got hired here in Londonderry 21 years ago, I worked everything I could. I got ordered over, it's just what we did. I think it's changed a little bit. I don't think that's the same for everybody. For me, I had a young family, I had no choice but to do that. And I think that it's shifting. So I think pay is important. I think quality of work is important. The community is important to these officers, they come aboard. And I think leadership internally with our department is a major plus. Out of all the recruits that we have hired from outside agencies, they're all shocked when they come to work with us. They're shocked at how they're treated. They're shocked at the welcoming they receive from all of you folks when they get first sworn in. They are shocked, and we recently got applauded with one of the firefighters who said the same thing when she came over here. She couldn't believe the way that they're treated. I think that holds a lot for us, but it's not the be-all, end-all. And I think working together with the CBAs and the town council, I think we can figure out how to retain them and make them stay.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out obstacles and, low-hanging fruit that we can move up a little bit,
Sure.
I think that if you could get some of those guys and do like a mini podcast about what makes you different,
Yep.
like a little video, and, from even people who have retired or, and people who have stayed, what was the experience? You just said that it was a different, they came in and they were like shocked. I mean, that kind of testimonial speaks volume to people who are out there, may have had bad taste in their mouth, another officer in
Sure.
another town, and said, boy, that was nasty, but, this looks better. You know what I mean?
Right.
It might,
It's a great idea. We can add that to part of our recruitment thing. I think that wouldn't hurt.
I mean, it can't hurt, right? That's all. I'm sorry.
That's good. That's good.
I do have a question, Mr. Chair.
Please.
In regards to recruitment, as I've shared before, I'm in staffing. Do you send your recruiters to like professional staffing courses and obviously negotiation a little different, but like on techniques and skills to build off of Counselor Paul? There's a lot of great like HRAs, human resource associations and stuff that have like specific training
Okay.
on staffing and stuff like that. I'd recommend, especially if there's like a recruitment and retention concern that you have, there's a lot of great programs that experts will teach on like things to identify and look at and stuff. And we can, know yourself, seek self-improvement. I think it would be a great opportunity to explore that option. So.
Sure, thank you. I made a note of that. We do a lot of, we go to college job fairs. We hit the Reserve Center here in Londonderry. We've even gone as creative as putting flyers out at local gyms to try to recruit people. I think this is it's a nationwide issue, and again, it's not just Londonderry, but we do have something special, and we try to use that as much as we can to bring people aboard.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, I think the Assistant Town Manager has some relevant experience of recent note. This is something that, as the Deputy Chief pointed out, it's not just a Londonderry concern. It's something that people are thinking about at the state level and local communities, probably every local community around the state. And Lisa, I don't know if you can just share briefly.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. I've been asked to sit on a recruitment and retention committee up at the Fire Academy. And it is focused exclusively on fire at least, but there are folks from all segments of public safety because it's public safety wide, and it's not only statewide, it's nationwide. It's a nationwide problem right now. And we're finding there to be, or at least the anecdotal evidence is it's a generational thing as well. The new crop of folks coming in are not necessarily the ones that are looking to work all the overtime, right? They're much more concerned about quality of life and that sort of thing. So it's finding strategies to focus on those sorts of things to both recruit and retain those individuals while keeping in mind the other generations that you still have in the workforce. So it's a challenge for sure.
I would applaud you for being on that committee. I think that's great because, it just goes to talk about what I was mentioning earlier in regards to seminars and programs and stuff. So thank
Right.
you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else, gentlemen? Right, you all set, Jim?
I'm good.
You all set, Joe?
Thank you.
All right, so the only thing I would say is that recently I was on an email thread, and the sender sent an email to someone asking them for, hey, where's the plan? And the recipient of that email sent back in caps, no plan. The devil's in the details. So I think what we're gonna wanna see is goals are great, but we're gonna wanna see what's the plan to the town manager of how we're gonna get this done. And, let's document it and then let's follow it.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I clearly misunderstood. I focused on the goals. We already have plans characterized by our ongoing strategic plan to deal with each of these areas, and certainly we'll get that to the town manager in short order.
That's great.
But this is a part of what we do, certainly at the executive level, all the time.
Yeah, well, you can probably figure out that, that email spurred my conversation with the school department. As long as we have a plan, we're executing against it, that's what it's about, and that's how we get to the next level. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for the suggestion, and thank you.
See, the advantage of going second, Justin. Is that now you know what we're looking for.
Absolutely. Well, Justin Campbell, the Finance Director, as many are aware. As my letter that I sent out to you guys states, the Finance Department has a little bit of a different responsibility than a lot of the other departments that you'll be speaking to. Essentially, we're here to assist and help those departments achieve their goals. The main goal of the Finance Department, as always, is to ensure the financial safety of the resources given to us and entrusted to us by the taxpayers, which my department takes extremely seriously. Along with that, we have roughly 3 things that, we're working on in addition to our daily and main goals of assisting the other departments achieving their goals. The first one would be rebuilding the town's undesignated fund balance. Currently, we are in line with our own policy. However, the GFOA and DRA recommended guidance, we are below. This helps assist with cash flow during the tight times should, for whatever reason, tax bills be coming in later, motor vehicles be trending downward, things of that nature. It allows us to maintain operations with the cash flow without taking out a tax anticipation notice or a TAN, which essentially pays us the tax money up front that we then pay interest on. It also allows us the ability to review projects upcoming and use our fund balance to potentially assist in defraying those costs over the life of the project. Things such as when we take out a bond or anything of that nature. Where we don't have any of those on the radar currently, it hasn't been a concern. And right now, the fund balance level, this isn't me saying it's concern. It's me saying, looking forward with potential recession coming up, it would be a good time to be able to ensure our cash flow for the future of the town. The next one, which as you heard from the police department, you'll likely hear from a lot of the other departments, is work on the town budget to determine adjustments that are needed from their personnel and non-personnel lines to more accurately reflect not only the desired but likely spending. That was one of the topics previously during the last budget cycle and the budget cycle previously, and I think that we need to be in line with that. The next one with that along is working with residents to have them fully understand and feel comfortable reaching out to the finance department to ask a question about, hey, what's going on with this? Just today, I responded to an email of somebody who read something on social media and said, wait a minute, why is this happening? What's going on? And I informed them that, well, no, this unfortunately is not correct. This is the actual situation. As I've told people, anyone that talks to me, you may not like what I have to say, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I'd rather you be mad at me for the truth than something you heard that's incorrect. The third goal that I have here is somewhere down the line, potentially adding an additional part-time individual to the staff. The town council has emphasized greatly going out and getting grants. Today, we just accepted $50,000. All those grants have strict compliance. They're federal grants that have strict compliance. We're able to go through and maintain those. But currently, the best way I can put it is when I started in fiscal year 2016, the town received about $97,000 in grants. We're not through this fiscal year yet, and we already have $1.6 million. A lot of it, unfortunately, or not unfortunately, a lot of it is from COVID, but perfect example is this 50,000 we just accepted is from COVID, where we're able to go and use it to assist in another project. My concern is with all this money, I want to keep it going. I want to provide the highest level of services possible to the taxpayers with the additional help that we're able to get that's out there. My staff is currently close, if not at capacity, with what we have. In addition to that, one of the other concerns is risk management. With the amount we have in my department right now, we're not able to segregate duties as well as I would like to. It's the devil of the beast. It's saving us a lot of money tax-wise, and we're able to oversee all of it. So it's not a large concern, but there is the potential that this, not the potential, this would reduce our risk management, or risk. Yeah, exactly. It gives another set of eyes on everything and allows for further segregation of duties.
Okay. Questions? Sorry.
No, please.
Mr. Chairman, if I just amplify one thing that he touched upon, I just think it's important that everybody recognizes the amount of information that he pushes out to residents who call asking for information. He never circles the wagons. He's an open book. As he said, you may not like what he has to say, but he tells you the truth as he sees it, and I think that that's admirable. And I just wanted to make sure the public was aware of that.
And if I could amplify one other thing, Mr. Chair, with each grant that we receive, there are numerous compliance requirements that I think Justin didn't adequately let you know about, because he handles it all with the plum and without letting one know. But reporting requirements, certain paperwork, timeliness, et cetera. So with every grant that we get, it's great, but we heap upon his department more responsibilities for tracking those grants and making sure that we stay compliant to keep the grant. So.
And along that as well, should the agency that offers it to us, awards it to us, request to come in and audit, which they have every right to, they go into detail, which takes time, which takes me away from doing other things for the town. We had one where they came in and we were discussing a $13 receipt for a $87,000 grant. We were discussing a $13 receipt. So they go into detail, which it takes time and takes me away from other duties for the town.
Thank you. So I do appreciate the fact that you are diligently seeking grants to expand and search for new ones. I've been beating that drum for the 3 years I was on the budget committee, and I appreciate that you had also sought other resources like that grant writing company and
I have a meeting with him on Wednesday to discuss other options.
okay, great. And I think I'll repeat what I've always been saying is there's one thing better than money. It's free money, especially if it is not to the expense of the taxpayer. And I think that's great. And I just would strongly support your continuance of utilizing those tools and the grants that's available and partnering with other agencies that might have other resources that we might not. And I commend you, and I do appreciate as a taxpayer and hearing from other taxpayers in the community, you're just the continuance of that. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Continue on the grant issue. Over the years, I see the fire department, the police department, the town come and try to get grants, and it's pretty specialized to a certain extent. My question is, would it be better for us to find I know we have, I assume there's an outside contractor you're working with.
The outside contractor helps us obtain the grants themselves.
Yeah.
He
Some
does
of them.
the, yeah, some of them. Some
right.
of them.
Yeah.
Is it worth our while to look to see if we can find someone?
To fully manage them?
To fully manage them and go after them? Because I would assume that the fire department's in the back of the room. Are they the ones that look for their grants?
They do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are the police department there looking for their grants?
Yes.
Are you guys
But then
looking-
someone has to write them too.
Understood.
So, yep.
So the question is, it is
And I mean,
specialized, and we're using their resources to look for grants. Would it be smart enough for us to get someone that can do that and that can write it? Because if we can get the money and the money is there, what's the best way to handle it?
I would agree with that, and it's one where you look at it, our current grant writer, what typically happens is the police department and fire department will go out, find the grants they want. They have a limited capacity. Once they, if they have 3 grants they want, but only one person to write them at that time because they're busy with other things, we try to get that individual to come and write the grants for us, but at the same point, he's not here, he doesn't have our information, so he still has to contact someone at those departments, and he's still taking up those times.
Yep, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, John. I do want to applaud you too. You did a great job. Every time I ask a question, you explain it to me in baby terms so that I understand it.
Me too.
But I was thinking, Jim stole my thunder on a grant writer, a professional grant writer. Now, you're talking that you might like to have a part-time position. Would it be better to use the money for finding I don't know if it would be part-time or full-time grant writer, and then that would free up a lot of work that you have to do or other staff, so that you wouldn't need that other extra person. Do you know what I'm saying? They would take that off of your plate. I mean, yes, you're getting an extra person, but the person is specific
Right.
to just grant writing
So
and
that would-
detailing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be great as long as they're helping with the compliance and the after the fact as well.
Right, that they would do
Yep.
everything within the. Like, that's
Similar to
their
a lot
goal.
of school districts,
job.
a lot of school districts have sometimes a department or at least one individual where their job is essentially go get grants and then maintain all those grants.
Yeah. And is there anything in your department that could be outsourced?
So we've worked on that actually. Mr. Chairman talked about speaking outside of the box. And I'm sure you remember previously, we had the credit card program that brought back large rebates,
Correct.
large 40 to 60,000.
Right.
That was great. That was amazing. However, our AP clerk would have to call the vendors to get them to take the credit card over the phone and do it that way. Once they started knowing our vendors' lunch schedules, I realized we got to do something because it's taking up too much time compared to what we're getting in return. So we did an RFP to find another program that works, and we have it's called Paymode X from Bottom Line Technologies, where essentially what happens is we send them the file, and they take care of sending that it's a virtual card to that vendor to
Yeah.
pay.
Bottom line's a
That-
great company.
Yeah, and we still receive a rebate, and they call them dividends on returns because the vendors will either take a virtual card, premium ACH, where they receive a lot more information, regular ACH, or a check, if they say no to all of it. So that's one where it kind of freed up opportunities there.
Good job.
There was another one I wanted to mention too with that, but I can't think of it at this time. But Paymode is one of the big ones.
The other thing I'd like to say that I like what you're doing is, I know I asked this a long time ago, is getting to the actual cost of running, the real cost.
Yep.
In running each department, so you can see where the weaknesses are, where the strengths are, and you can adjust appropriately. So I applaud you for doing that, because that's really important. I know it's a bottom line budget and whatever, but there's an
You want to know
actual
how much
cost.
each one costs, but as we discussed previously, there's times where you kind of want to pool it together. And I look at health insurance as that, where by pooling it together, we are now mitigating the risk of, a smaller department, my department. If somebody leaves and they're on a single plan or a buyout, and they come in with a family plan, you're looking at a $2,500 to $30,000, where now it's, so by pooling it together.
We've had
But-
this conversation,
yeah.
but I'm talking about the actual, taking those pieces out.
Yep. No,
the
I-
actual cost of things. I mean, if it's costing X
Yep.
to get this thing done, it should be saying X, not taking it from here, taking it from there.
Correct.
So that you can look at that problem, whether it's a positive or negative, and say, how can we fix it?
Yep, and that's why I always tell my departments or the departments to, when they're charging an expense, charge it to the appropriate account. because I want the actual numbers, so that way when you come and ask, I'm able to give you the actual number, not, well, hold on, this was here, but that's here.
Yeah.
I'm able to give you the actual number.
I just think that's cleaner and it's better and it just, I think will help in the future, performance-wise,
Yep.
to do a lot better. So, and you're right, I don't always agree with you, but you've always been pleasant and professional with our conversations, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I won't parrot everything that's been said already about trying to find those monies elsewhere besides the taxpayer. Bravo for that, and want to continue. I'm really happy to hear that. But I did want to talk a little bit about the town's fiscal year budget, and I know I see what you wrote here, which is good, and you and I have had conversations about it where, you know, we're looking at elderly exemptions, we're looking at tax credits that are coming up, and, you know, how do we fund these? Well, sometimes the devil's in the detail, you know. When Tom Frieda was around, we dug into those budgets really, really closely, and I applaud you for saying that that's what you want to do. We have done it over the past few years since you've been the director, but a couple of years, but I think we have an opportunity to do more, because when we find those line items that may not necessarily be spent completely at 100% rate, it's been folded in to the budget, right, for year after year after year. But if we would have put that right fit, okay, it's something, I'm just saying something's $10,000 in the budget, well, we always put $5,000 is actually charged to that. Well, there's $5,000 more of budgetary numbers that maybe could go towards some of these things that we're identifying up here. It's not always that we have to go to the taxpayers and ask them to increase, because I know, you know, some of these calculations of how much more would it be as a tax impact. Well, I say, no, it shouldn't be any tax impact. Let's find it in the budget somewhere by those methods. Tighten the ship a little bit. So I look towards, you know, this year coming up when we start to do budgeting, to be using those type of really, really tight analysis to gain those type of things, to be able to pass on tax rates and elderly exemptions to the people that need them. So thank you.
Okay, so, Justin, there's somebody in your department now who does have a grant writing skill, don't they?
They do, but they're tasked with plenty of other things at this point.
But they could also teach somebody, right?
Yes.
How do we feel about outsourcing payroll?
This has been looked into.
Last time was about 6 or 7 years ago.
I can look into it. But you have to keep in mind, you use a lot of,
Free somebody up, right? And if we don't have to hire another person, And I know it's a split job. I don't quite understand that, but I know it is.
yep. So our payroll clerk spends a lot of time with HR as well as doing the payroll. In terms of outsourcing the payroll and using it for other sources, it's a good idea in theory. My concern is a lot of these payroll companies, when issues come up, they still have to go to somebody at the business to do it, which would still be her, and now it's not her information she's working on, it's what the company is giving her.
I would note too, just for the record, that right now our payroll person is not full-time, so we're not paying the full boat of health insurance or anything like that. So I think the cost would be very much in an order of 2 or 3 times the cost of the employee that we have right now.
So I use ADP as an employee, and I can tell you, I've never had a conversation with an HR person. And I think we have to look at, it's become very self-service, like many other things. So, you know, it's a possibility.
It is, and like I said, I will look into it. One of the things to keep in mind, however, though, is you don't deal with midnight shifts plus differentials, things of that nature that the police and fire deal with. Where you're booking, you know, okay, is it the airport? Is it the airport on the Homeland Security grant? Is it town? Where's the overtime fill? Things of that nature, where it gets a lot more complicated, where we would then have to take that phone call and reach out to ADP to say, hey, what's going on here?
And like I said, I'm assuming as big payroll companies, they probably have some knowledge. So,
But we have to also look at what they would cost us to do that and what would the benefit be versus the cost of it. I've had a couple meetings with, the cold calls that call me up and say, hey, I want to, set up a meeting, and I've met with some of them, and the cost is, unfortunately, it's prohibitive.
Unfortunately, we'd have to move away from weekly payroll for it to have a better cost-benefit analysis.
Likely, yes, and that would be discussions for unions and things of that nature.
I understand. The other thing I'd probably like to see is I would, I'd probably like to see you more intimately, and maybe you are already, but more intimately involved in the actual decision-making that some of the department heads are making and why they're making it, and question it.
I can tell you that,
I
Mr.
can
Chairman.
assure you, he is. Yeah.
In the,
Well, listen, I don't know.
Sure.
that is well underway.
I'm working on that.
It's a joint effort.
Well, just, participatory government. Thank you.
Anything else?
Oh, for that payroll thing, there is a local company, and the owner lives in town, the business is in town, Business Sense, and they do that, and they will come and work with you in conjunction. And because it's so intimate, it might be better than a bigger company because they're small and they can come here in a heartbeat to help you with different things. And they do everything from payroll to HR to all that other stuff. And if there is a mistake, they're the ones financially responsible. Because that's just kind of nice protection, because they, they would get hurt. They sign everything and make sure that it's them that gets the.
Okay.
One last thing before I step away. To the public out there listening, as I've said previously, if you have questions, feel free to give me a call. You may not like what I have to say, but I'll tell you the truth, and I'd rather have you mad at me for the truth than a misunderstanding.
Thank you.
What's your extension?
138.
Thank you.
603-432-1100, extension 138.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr.
Justin.
Okay, so moving on. Resolution 202205, a resolution relative to the acceptance of unanticipated revenue under RSA 31:95-B. This is the one that we discussed during public hearing. Can I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative, resolution carries.
Mr. Chair, I would note that in addition to signing the resolution, there's a certificate of vote.
I just saw that.
Thank you.
It says here the notary's got to,
I can take care of that. Yep,
you're seeing me?
I'm seeing you, yep.
I'll let you fill the rest of that in. I have Resolution 2022-06, a resolution relative to the Veterans Tax Credit Policy, first reading. Does anyone want to speak to this?
Make a
I'm just
motion.
gonna, Mr. Chair, if I may, I'm just gonna recuse myself.
Okay.
Make a motion to waive the first reading?
Need a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Discussion?
Thank you. Recycling Center credit card update.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is something that I just wanted to provide the council an update with, and also I think the finance director would like to address the convenience fee. So before I stepped up into this current role, there was an effort, I think driven by the council, if I understand correctly, that we accept credit cards at the drop-off center. I'm happy to report that per the staff, it was up and running in November of '21, so November of last year through the closing date. It was a pilot program, and so during that period of time the service fees were waived. The program will be back up and running, this time on a permanent basis, on April 16th, when the drop-off center opens. And I do have the finance director here to address the convenience fee, which I understand was addressed previously at the council level as well.
Please proceed.
Absolutely. So one thing I want to mention is we say waived. It wasn't waived. The town paid for it instead of the individual using the credit card instead of using their check. My thought is we have a low convenience fee to allow those that want to use a credit card to use a credit card. However, it doesn't force those that still want to use a check to end up paying for that person using their credit card.
Okay. What do you want to do? This is that whole decision-making thing. What do you want to do?
I've talked with Bob Kerry, who's works with them, and we're looking between $1.50 and $2.50. And again, it's
Pick an easy number.
$2.50,
Pick an easy number.
$2.
That's a much easier number.
I like it. We have to,
So now, wait a minute.
Convenience.
What's the average recycling fee? What do we think the average going through there is? $20?
40.
It,
I pay 40 every single time.
that I'm not sure about.
And what's our convenience fee? 2.6%? 2.75? So $2.75 on $100, and you want to charge $2?
So what you have to keep in mind as well is this $2 will be for those that come and use it for their $7, $5, $10, things of that nature.
I understand. I mean, you know,
I wanted $2.50.
this is not a negotiation. So if I come in there with $500, I'm going to pay $2?
If you use your credit card, yes.
What do you guys want to do?
And essentially what this is doing is it's supplementing it.
Can't you just add a percentage onto it? What do you pay for your what does the merchant charge you?
Depends on the credit card, the level of threat it is, and it's between 2.4 and 3.8.
Okay, so I pay a flat 2.2 across the board, whatever credit card, American Express, Discover, whatever. So my point is, if you find the average, and this way the person knows, you go there, you're gonna pay 2% because of the credit card. You just add it right in. 2% is 2%. This way you're not losing money, or 3%, whatever. If you wanna make money, you make it a little bit higher than that percentage, but it's just an average.
So this, I'll be honest, this is not the response I was expecting, considering the last time I brought this up, I was told we shouldn't be charging a convenience fee.
It's a processing fee.
Listen,
not
it's a different,
convenience
it's different. So I would recommend to you that you come up with a tiered approach. So if it's $50 and under, it's $2. If it's
Yep, that's one of the
$100 and
options
over,
we've,
if it's
that's,
$100 and over, it's $3 per 100.
that's one of the options we discussed.
So, you know, come up with something that, you know, that is some sort of tiered approach that's easy for the operators down there to do.
Yep, and that's why I wanted to do $1 where we can have it as,
So if it's under $50, it's a dollar. If it's over $50, it's $2. If it's over $100, it's $3. If it's over $200, it's $5. Let's make it so it's easy for the operators.
yep. That was one of the options we discussed.
Okay.
So we can move forward with that then.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay.
Just make sure you get a sign up there, big enough for everybody to see.
Yes, and it's actually already on the advertisements they put out that there will be a service or convenience charge.
Still need a
Make-
sign.
Make it
Yes.
simple.
next we're going year-round over there?
And just so you're aware, right now we have one. We have a second one coming. The iPad to make it work is currently being mailed to us. So once we receive that, it'll be up and running.
I mean, as not as many people are carrying checks around anymore, so we gotta figure out another way to do this.
You're talking to the right person. I've written maybe 10 checks my entire life.
There you go, you're my example.
Perfect. Isn't DPW bringing the goal of all year round recycling? So
That is, if you get Dave going with his big ideas, that one will be on the list. I guarantee it.
I don't have a problem keeping the thing open year round as long as you can staff it. Right.
Right.
So, okay.
That was easy.
There we go.
It's just keep it as simple as possible for the operators.
That's what I was going for.
Thank you, Justin.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next item, please.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to update the council on discussions that I've been having and the finance director have had with the Lions, the Londonderry Lions. As the council knows, the Lions have leased the old town hall building. It was also the police department, I understand, at one point in time, from the town for approximately 40 years. It's an historical building that's several hundred years old. The lease is for nominal rent, and it requires the Lions to maintain the building at their sole cost. They've done their best over the years, but the maintenance costs have been and will continue to be significant going forward. Over the last 10 years, the town has also contributed significantly to the maintenance costs, despite the terms of the lease that I just mentioned that require the Lions to do that. Late last year, the town determined that it could not continue contributing to the maintenance costs, at least not without amending the lease. We've had several discussions with the Lions, and those discussions have been productive. We've looked at the Lions' finances. They opened their books to us, and both sides have come to the conclusion that it's a big ask for the Lions to continue to fund the maintenance costs while still achieving their charitable goals. I want to acknowledge that the Lions have contributed significantly to the maintenance of that building over the years. They've taken on a number of major repairs, and they've been good stewards of the building. What brings me here tonight is the recognition that both sides have that the current situation is not tenable. I suggest the council consider whether the Lions Hall might become a town facility where the Lions and other civic groups could meet, but which facility is controlled by the town. I make this suggestion because I cannot advise the council to invest heavily in the building for the benefit of a single organization, no matter how worthy the cause may be. This is one possible solution. There may be others. If there is a consensus that we should explore this, it should be recognized that there are likely to be significant costs to the town. There are ADA requirements that are likely to take effect. There are structural concerns about that building. There are safety concerns, and there are concerns about how rental of the facility would be managed. But it is an important historical structure, and my informed assumption is that selling it or demolishing it is not an option. I wanted to update the council on these discussions and my appraisal of the situation and get the council's input and direction on the matter.
So are you okay with him going forward and looking at other options?
Including, some information on what those improvements would cost, right? I mean, I'm sure, right? Okay.
Of course, yes. I mean, it's still in its infancy, this exploration, and so that would have to be part of the discussion, Councilor.
Thank you. But to answer your question, I mean, I don't think a rip down and a demolish is in the realm of.
No, you'd have a few more people in the audience, I would expect, if that were.
I'm just saying, as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
Might be a good place for your new electronic sign.
Yeah.
From the Lions. Yeah, let's pursue it and see what's the, see what the possibilities are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim?
Jim?
Yeah.
Even though we already waived the public hearing, would it make sense to talk about these tax credits, or do you want to just take care of it at the next meeting? We have.
Your guys' meeting, whatever you guys want
We
to
have
do.
we have something that was prepared by Mr. Malaguti, so I just didn't know if we should discuss it or not.
It's up to you all. It's your meeting. If you want to talk about tax credits here, or if you want to wait until the public hearing.
Well, we have it tonight, so I figured I could talk about it.
I'm happy to just briefly explain what you have in front of you. We've talked about this idea for several meetings. It's been driven by the council, which is concerned about recognizing our veterans. I have prepared a resolution in line with what I suggested the last time, which was to increase both of these exemptions, so the all veterans exemption and the optional veterans tax credit, by half of what we could increase them by now. And that's $125. So to provide some history, back in 2017, the council did vote to adopt the recently authorized all veterans tax credit and to phase it into the maximum benefit, which was $500 at that time. Subsequent to that vote, the legislature authorized towns to actually offer a higher benefit, a $750 benefit, for both the all veterans tax credit as well as the optional veterans tax credit. In the discussions that I've had with you, I have cautioned you that there is no budget for increasing the exemption this year or in the coming fiscal year for which the budget is already set. That being said, the projected cost of doing this, $115,000, is something where the finance director and I are comfortable advising you is likely to be able to be absorbed into the budget this coming year. I said at the last meeting, this is not a budgetary best practice. I don't love doing this, but it's a worthy cause, and it's not going to get us into fiscal trouble doing it that way. I do caution against going all the way, just given the economic conditions that seem to be transpiring. We are still projecting healthy surpluses, but I think we still need to be cautious. And so that's why I've made the recommendation that I've made.
So, thank you for that. And with all due respect, I think that, as some of us have heard tonight and have heard, not only on email and voicemail and calls directly live, that, people are hurting out there, and the thing is that whether we do have deep pockets or not, people perceive us that we could figure out a way to help them, just like the woman that spoke tonight. And we have to try to figure out a way, if we really feel that these are that important, and to the woman that came tonight, if those folks that are suffering in silence, as I like to say sometimes, she wasn't certainly in silence tonight, but, I think that we got to try to find a way. I understand we have to be good stewards of the taxpayer, but I also think that we have to help people that live in our town and not have to move out of the town because of things like this that are out there. So I don't know if there's a way, we talked about it earlier, I don't know if there's other ways of funding this through grants or something else. I don't really know. Who would know? I don't know if that's a different avenue that we can look at, but there's a reason why the state went up to $750. I mean, and to allow us to do that, and I think that it's another $115,000, and to go at the maximum, and the same reason why in 2017 we went and chose to phase that in and get to the maximum as fast as possible. I think we need to understand that this is where we need to be, and I think that was at that point it was like $250 a year. So this is really all we're doing right now is taking another phase and another step in that phase of $250. So, but that's just the way I feel.
Anyone else? All righty, well then we'll revisit it in the public hearing. I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes from March 28th, 2022.
So moves, Jim?
Mr. Chairman,
There's some mistakes.
Oh.
Sorry.
sorry, I think you were going to raise the same concern that I had.
There's some mistakes in
Please
here.
proceed.
So, if line 86, it says, Jim ZBA, and it should be Jim has to stay on Heritage, and I go back to ZBA because I can't be on Heritage and Planning. So, that has to get fixed.
So we're swapping.
Yeah, I have, they said.
No,
I
I
can't.
get, okay. Whatever.
It's a land use board
Yeah,
regulation.
no, I get it.
I wasn't sure how that exactly ended,
Yeah,
but that's how it has to end.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how the conversation ended, but that's what needs
Correct.
to happen. Okay, anything else? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative. Minutes are approved. Accept a motion to accept the resignation of Kevin Foley from the Energy Efficiency Task Force. He said he just didn't estimate that it would take more time than he actually had available.
So moved, Chairman.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes affirmative. Mr. Foley, thank you for your service. Liaison reports. Do we have anything new for liaison reports? Yes.
So I attended the library this week, and one of the things, the new staff there is really working together well, and not really a lot of changes. They had their vote to appoint a chair, and so some of the same people that have been on for a while, so that's good. It all worked out well. But I did have a concern, and wanted to bring this to our new town manager, and let him know that there are some things in there that could be a safety risk. And what I mean by that is the exterior of the employee entrance. I'm concerned with the cracking of the pavement there. And I understand that they're looking to have that repaired, but again, I look at it as a different, I understand that it's a different form of government there, but I also understand that if anybody was to fall there in that area, that it would be the town that would be on the hook overall, right? So, you
Correct.
agreed?
I,
So-
I do, and I would note that we do support the library, not only financially, but also with our resources, HR resources and whatnot, so I agree with that, Councilor
But I
Green.
think that the issue is that the patching that we've done in the past, I think is, if I could recommend, and I think some of the folks that actually have had experience doing this before, it may need to be replaced, and so it's just something that maybe some guidance, one of our folks could go over there and help them a little bit, make that decision with that education as to what's gonna happen, because I don't think the patching's gonna be helpful, and it's already came up once, and it could cause a safety issue, somebody could fall. And so that's really what I'm looking at it again, risk versus reward,
Absolutely, and I'll have somebody make a trip and take a look at it.
Thanks so much.
Also, you should look at, weren't those done not that long ago, where we put in the,
Ramps. And the ramps, we repaired the ramps.
yeah,
and I
we
think
put in the heat
stairs
things
too.
and,
No, the
I-
heat things were to here, I think.
I thought they
we
did them
put
over
heat-
there
No,
too.
I don't think so.
Oh, that's right, Barbara fought again, you're absolutely correct. when you-
Yeah, I don't think so.
But I remember the argument,
Yeah.
but it wasn't that long ago that
2 years
put
ago.
those things in.
Yeah, the other good news is that they're putting, like we have here, the push button for handicapped people to go in,
Good.
so those are really, really good improvements that they're working on, so, but, yeah, if you could look into that, it'd be great, thank you.
Absolutely.
New leadership, small opportunity to make, to go to the next level.
Yep.
Good stuff. Okay, anything else, liaisons?
Yes, planning board, we had the big Woodmont thing, which we spoke about a little bit here. But they are thinking more housing. They said that they were putting slabs aside or pieces aside for restaurants when that picks up again, and that they were gonna hold open spots for that. But they were excited about some of the new stuff that was coming or being built right at this moment. I did ask them about the surveys that were out on Pillsbury Road, and they did suggest, that they didn't say for sure, that it would be housing. So that was there. They said they had somebody, a big insurance company, that was supposed to come, but because of people working from home, building a big corporate office is now not an option. So it's kind of a little of a roller coaster there, little bits of movement, but really not what I think the residents of this town had anticipated would have happened. I think they thought things were gonna move a lot quicker than they were, but they said that they were tax positive, all on a good note. So that was about it.
Anyone else, liaisons? Yes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I attended my first traffic safety committee as well as our new town manager. Just as the voters had spoken, we discussed, it was on the agenda, we discussed the townwide reduction of speed to 30 miles an hour. The public has spoken to that and also stated that it is not on any of our agendas for that reason. There were a couple other things that were removed from the Traffic Safety Committee's agenda just for, due to people that brought forth the concern were not in attendance, so thank you.
Anyone else? And as stated earlier, I did go to the school board meeting, did share with you what I said to them. They are still in a superintendent search. It seems to be, they seem to be light on candidates. There was a full presentation. I did ask later, outside of the meeting, if they were going to go out and recruit, and the answer was that the committee was not actively pursuing current superintendents to recruit. They were waiting for people to contact them. That was what they said. I was also contacted by 3 of the 5 school board meetings after I spoke to the school board members, after I spoke to them, and spoke to a 4th in Market Basket. So they all say they're on board to be number 1, so I guess we'll see. Time will tell. That's it for liaisons. Town manager report.
Mr. Chairman, a couple of things I want to highlight here tonight. The first is I had a nice discussion with Larry Casey from the Arts Council. They are trying to generate interest right now for an arts cafe on Saturday, April 30th, from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. at the Orchard Christian Fellowship. Sounds like there's going to be some music, some artwork, some coffee, so a nice event that's going to be put on by them. I wanted to take a minute to update the council on the 35 Gilchrist transaction. This is something that Councilor Paul, you had reached out to me and asked for kind of a lay explanation of that letter that I included here from the Attorney General's office. And I'll do my best to break that down into non-lawyer speak. I had, throughout the budget process, alerted the council and the public to the fact that even though I didn't think that the conservation easement was what's called a charitable trust, that we were going to ask the Attorney General's office to confirm my legal opinion before we move forward with that transaction. A charitable trust is when somebody donates something for a charitable purpose, whether it's a conservation easement or an endowment or something like that. The Attorney General consider that a charitable trust so that the recipient can't just walk away from it if they decide that that's what they want to do. Here, the circumstances were such where this was not a donation for charitable purposes. It was an arm's length transaction where the town paid money to the developer in order to achieve a desired benefit. And so the Attorney General agrees with my analysis. It's not a charitable trust, and they are asserting no jurisdiction over that transaction. Doesn't mean that the Conservation Commission and the Town Council still don't need to determine that there is a replacement parcel that's of equal or greater conservation value. That's something that the warrant articles require. It just means that the Attorney General's office is not going to be part of that review process. So I wanted to update the council on that. An update on the town's website. I've heard from a number of residents about a couple of different things. One is that the bottom of the website where we had the news and the updates and the social media, we just felt we could get more out of that. And so we've tweaked that a little bit to try to fit more content there, but have a neater appearance. And so I would encourage everybody to check that out and see what you think. The other function that I've heard about on the website is the Notify Me feature. So the Notify Me feature allows you to, if you're interested in Town Council or Conservation Commission, to sign up to receive those notifications. It would make sense to me. It makes sense to the town staff that when notifications are sent out or updates are placed, that if you've that you should be able to receive those notifications automatically. That's not how the website works, unfortunately. And so we identified what the issue was. there's a button that needs to be selected every time the town creates an update. That guidance has gone out to the town staff. It's not the most user-friendly way to do business, but it should be notifying residents who have signed up to receive those updates going forward. The town hall parking situation is a little bit out of control right now. Yes?
Can I just point a word on that? So you went back to the website. One of the things that we talked about was also the town council communication. So what, I don't know if you guys have been on there lately, but what used to happen was that you were able to go in and hit town council, and then you were able to see our names with an extension. And you'd be able to click underneath the name and get an email automatically sent to us. Now it's just one email address, so it can't be individually sent to anybody unless they have our email address, but that's where they would get it anyway, so.
That's in process, Mr. Vice Chairman. We are looking at that and intend to make that change promptly.
Yeah, I just figured we talked about with a website, figured I'd throw that
It's
out there.
a good point, and that you should be able to email your counselor.
Thank you, thank you.
Are you gonna reach out to the public with this and ask what they'd like to see on there, or what they would like to see fixed, or how they would hope that it functioned for gathering data for themselves?
We are. I don't think we're quite to that point yet, but as you and I have discussed, I think that was your idea. It's on my list of things that I want to do. I think it's a good idea.
And have you taken off all the dead links that go to China?
So town departments have been requested twice to look at their pages and update them. I think that that is mostly occurred. I don't think it's 100% occurred.
Okay.
And so that's something that I'm going to be looking to ensure takes place in the coming months. Unfortunately, some of these are not easy fixes, and they're a little bit time consuming when we have other things to do. But having a website that works and doesn't lead you to China is important. And so I recognize that.
Yeah, that'd be good. That's not a good place to be, because that also opens the door for hackers.
I mentioned the town hall parking. There's a little bit of a situation right now with high school students parking in the parking lot like all day. There's another situation where it's being used as a pickup and a turnaround, and there's some safety concerns with the library and the access to the town hall. And so the fair warning, the police department is going to be out there and enforcing those restrictions in the coming weeks. So I just wanted to update you on that.
Mr. Manager, what is the enforcement? What are the penalties?
I can't speak to that directly, but what I can tell you is it will be an educate component first. But that education timeframe is going to be short, because it's my understanding that the kids have been notified repeatedly that there is to be no parking over here during the day. And so I wouldn't be surprised if a car or two ended up getting towed because there's certainly that basis.
Thank you.
And, excuse me, Mike, when did this start happening? Or has it been an ongoing problem?
It seems like it's been worse lately.
For some
don't
reason, it's
remember
been worse
kids
lately.
Parking here, but they do now? Nobody knows when it started?
My guess is they all cut through the path, and somebody figured out it was closer.
Yeah.
When the weather got nicer, because they've all been cutting through the path after the snow went away, and somebody probably went, hey.
I think there's been a gradual trickling over here,
I mean,
quite
I know
frankly.
people did it
So-
at night to go to the Lafayette.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not the
That was a
issue.
big cut through.
That's been
But
going
I
for
never knew
years.
during the day, I
The-
mean, I never was aware of it.
The high school kids, right, park over here and then walk across the street. Because of course, there's limited parking at the high school, and they have been repeatedly warned, according to the school administration, that they are only to be parking either where they have the parking pass or in the back lot.
So that's one issue, is the
Yep.
parking.
Yep.
What about the pickup?
My belief is there's going to be some signage that's posted that will dissuade folks from doing that. Because it is interfering, I believe there are handicap
Yeah.
pull-ins there
I know.
in the
Right.
front.
I've watched it.
And if you are here around 2:15, 2 o'clock, 2:15, it is an absolute zoo some days. and it's not a safe situation, and somebody's going to get hurt.
I don't know, why can't we just park a cruiser and put the lights on? No one's gonna park there. I mean, you know, we don't even need manpower to do that.
The good news is, you might find the chief of police himself out there.
He's
leading
very
the-
passionate
He's
about
very
this topic.
passionate about this issue.
Then-
Priority for him.
Then let's move on.
Yep.
I'll be curious to see how it plays out.
All night.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question relevant.
Well, okay.
Thank you. In regards to the parking over here, is there like an ordinance or a rule or whatever that prohibits students from parking over here? And if not, is that something that we should impose as?
So right now, there's no signage that would alert a student to the fact that they can't legally park here. They've been emailed, they've been told, but in terms of us being able to actually bring enforcement action, we need signage before we can do that. And once that's in place, the answer is yes. we can
So
go.
you'll
But there is a
address,
school policy that they're not supposed to be
Correct.
parking here.
that was more my question.
Yes.
Thank you. So the signage will address the pickup, drop off and extended parking.
Correct,
Correct.
correct.
Thank you.
See, the problem is they're parking in handicapped spots and waiting.
Yeah.
That's a violation.
Yeah.
That's a separate violation.
right,
Correct.
right.
Yep. Yep. And there is a stopping standing law that can be enforced. But in terms of, kids parking there all day,
Put the car and put the blue lights on and they'll all go someplace else.
Yeah.
Have a canine.
two more things of note, and they're kind of happy ones, good ones. On April 4th, Londonderry Police Department, together with an alert volunteer, were able to safely return one of our senior citizens home after she wandered off and became lost. That's a big win for the police department, for the community, and my thanks to the PD and to Alert for that work. Lastly, I want to just draw attention to the fact that I'm happy to report that we received another grant through the efforts of our planning department, and that is a local source water protection grant. I agree, Councilor Paul, with the concern that with development come environmental issues. And one of those is source water protection. And the town planner advises me that this grant, it's a modest grant, but it's going to be used in connection with the summer intern to identify areas that are at risk of contamination to a water source due to septic system malfunction and failure. As part of the project, the intern will be assisting in conducting an inventory of septic systems, reviewing approved septic plans, creating a database and digitizing septic system plan files so that we have an inventory. And it includes key information like the date of installation, the type of system, the size, et cetera. There's also a public outreach component that's going to bring awareness to what you can and can't do with a septic system. So I'm happy with their efforts in that regard.
Lisa, anything?
Just very quickly, I wanted to remind our residents that we are still accepting applications for the next session of Leadership Londonderry, which will begin in September of this year. The application deadline is currently set at May 12th, 2022, and you can get the application, it's a very simple application, right on our website. It's on the front page. Thank you.
Anything further? Our next meeting is next Monday, April 18th. We're asked to move the one from vacation week to the 18th, and then following that will be May 9th. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just make one note about the meeting schedule. For those folks who are, because I know that there are a number of community members who are interested in the veterans issue, the second reading of that will not be this coming week because we need a week to get it into the newspaper.
Right.
And not knowing what the outcome would be tonight, I had to put that off until the meeting
Yeah, so it'll
following.
be
the
May
next
9th.
meeting. Correct.
Okay. Accept the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.